Good afternoon, my name is Brian Teixeira, and I'm here to review the great engineering presentations relative to helicopters and vertical lift in the 20th century for EAS 107. A brief history regarding rotor wing started back in the 15th century with Leonardo da Vinci's conceptual design of the aerial screw, illustrated over here. And later on in the 20th century, Igor Sikorsky designed and manufactured the VS-300, the first proven rotor wing aircraft. Next slide. Just to go over a few basic principles of helicopters, and how it flies. We're going to focus on the main rotor, which is essentially the core of the aircraft. The main rotor is the combination of the rotary wing and a control system that generates the aerodynamic lift force that supports the weight of the helicopter and the thrust that counteracts the aerodynamic drag and forward flight. Highlighted here is an overview of the main rotor. This specific aircraft is a Sikorsky X2 coaxial rotor type system. This specific aircraft recently broke the max speed of a rotor wing aircraft, over 250 knots. Just a fun fact. Each main rotor is mounted on a vertical mast on the top deck of the aircraft. Generally made from one or two blades, two or more blades, excuse me. The blade pitch is typically controlled by the swash plate. The swash plate is this mechanism right here. Connected to the helicopter flight controls. There's an interlinking system from the pilot that controls the articulation of this whole system here. These control rods are connected to the swash plate and the blades, which controls the pitch. There is a rotating swash plate along with a fixed swash plate, so that the rotor head can spin at on a UH-60 Black Hawk. It's approximately 250 RPMs. Next. Okay. The tail rotor is a small mounted so that it rotates vertically or near vertically at the end of the tail of the traditional single rotor aircraft. The tail rotor's position and distance from the center of gravity allows it to develop thrust in the same direction as the main rotor's rotation to counter the torque effect created by the main rotor. It essentially creates a balance for the pilot to be able to control the aircraft. Next slide. Okay, next is the pedals. The pedals in the common cockpit are by the pilot and co-pilot's feet, and they control the pitch of the tail rotor, which creates the thrust. Here's a basic illustration of how it all works. These are also known as the anti-torque pedals. Next slide, please. The cyclic pitch. The cyclic pitch allows the aircraft to change attitude. If you look at the diagram here, the cyclic pitch has a 360-degree rotation movement, which allows the aircraft to go forward, back, also known as aft, left, and right. Based on the gyration of the cyclic stick, that's the position that the aircraft takes in movement. Next slide, please. The collective stick. The collective stick pulls the aircraft up, simply pulls the aircraft up and lets it go, and then ascend and descend. The collective stick is generally located to the left of the pilot or the co-pilot, and that changes the pitch of the blades, which allows it to go up or down. Next slide. Okay. Impact, a little impact on society. Here I've highlighted a few of the areas where helicopters have made monumental differences. To the left here, the first illustration is environmental preservation. The air vehicles provide a neutralization system for fires. This is something typical around this time of year. In the Midwest, you'll see a lot of that on the news. Also search and rescue, and in the ocean. There's multiple missions that these aircraft perform. Commercial industry allow back and forth transition from offshore oil rigs back to the home base. Also, exploration and transportation allow us to have some visibility to places that we haven't seen and create some education. Probably one of the most important to me is military transport and defense. It brings cargo to our troops overseas and does different types of missions to allow for our military to intrude a certain area, or at least to defend us. Also in the media, it gives us that general sense of how the traffic is operating, so we know when we go to do our daily work motions, we know what to expect. So definitely allows us to posture ourselves for our daily activities. This is the end of my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, this was my take on 20th century innovation that had a significant impact on society. Thank you.